Shifting our focus, the wrestlers stir against Wrestling Federation of India and its former chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh has opened a Pandora's box. One of the biggest concerns of the wrestlers during the whole saga was that there was no internal complaints committee to probe their sexual harassment charges against Brij Bhushan. And now similar lapses are being reported from other sports federations as well. The National Human Rights Commission has issued notice to the Sports Ministry, Cricket Body BCCI, the WFI, Sports Authority of India and 18 national sports federations for failing to meet the requirements of internal complaints committee under the POSH Act. Now, the human rights body has sought a status report within 4 weeks from each party, asking them to explain the steps taken or proposed to address the issue. My colleague Karishma joins me live on the broadcast to get us more perspective on this story. Karishma, this is one of the things that the wrestlers, of course, were talking about during their entire protest. But now in the larger scheme of things, this is also a cause of concern because now we understand that the NHRC has sent these notices to other sports bodies as well. Tell us more.
Well, yes, absolutely. The National Human Rights Commission has sent notices to the Sports Authority of India, to Sports Ministry and to 15 other sports federations as well, asking as to why there is no internal complaints committee, and they have been given 4 weeks time to respond to the notice. And now in the sports, the notice that has been sent by the NHRC, they've also marked it to the BCCI, but we have confirmed with sources that BCCI does have an internal complaints committee that is headed by a woman as per protocol. But of course, the WFI and the other 15 sports federations will have to respond to the NHRC notice as to why there is no internal complaints committee within these federations.
Karishma, just talking about the aspect of, how you did point out that you did try to get a reply from the BCCI as to how they are, how it works out for the body. But in terms of the other sports bodies, have you been able to get any reaction from them? Because this is, of course, a huge lapse, especially when we're speaking about female athletes who would like to go ahead and, raise these concerns at an internal committee, which is exactly what the wrestlers were stating, that they wanted to represent those voices that did not feel like that they could actually address these issues.
Well, yes, absolutely. The other sports federations are, of course, yet to respond, but they are going to, of course, have to respond to the NHRC notice. Like I said, they have 4 weeks time to respond to the notice that has been sent by the NHRC, but this is going to be a big lapse on the part of these sports federations to not have an internal complaints committee, and the Indian Olympic Association will also have to come in and look into this as to why these federations are in violation of law and why they don't have an internal complaints committee.
Right, Karishma. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast with all those details and also drawing things into perspective for us. But to take this conversation further, I understand I have Dr. Sunita Godara, Asian Marathon Champion of 1992, joining me on the broadcast. Ma'am, thank you very much for taking the time and speaking to us on Mirror Now. In fact, my colleague Karishma was also drawing things into perspective about how this is, of course, a glaring lapse. But your first reaction before we get talking to the other aspects of this story?
See, whatever these wrestlers are demanding, what NHRC has given the 4 weeks time, it is very slow process actually in the system. They should have ICC, Internal Complaint Committee. They should have Sexual Harassment Committee, which they don't have properly. They should have Ethics Commission, and Ethics Commission is like a tribunal court akin to NADA, and all outside people are there, one retired judge, 2 panelists, male and female, which are eminent sports persons. And they have so many rules and regulations in sports law, which are not being followed by Sports Ministry, by Indian Olympic Association, and by these federations. If you remember, like our anti-doping case, PIL, there also we found out that they don't have any panel which can see the culprits of doping, and then they made panel, and then NADA came into picture. So now Ethics Commission, and it was surprisingly, I saw this Times of India news of 2012. I don't know whether these 11 retired judges names are there. they know that they have made one committee on paper, ethics committee, and the other one is ICAS, Indian 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 Court of Arbitration for Sports. On paper they have. So what they will do to NHRC, they may reply on this. But these are all defunct committees.
Right.
And they don't have ethics commission. They are doing everything on paper. But presently, we don't see any of these commissions, committees, and panels are working properly. अगर ये काम कर रहे होते, these wrestlers
absolutely, and that is of
wouldn't have come
course
to the
a cause
roads, you
of
know.
concern as well. Dr.
Yeah.
Sunita, I'm going to come back to you, but I understand I have Nikhil Sharma, who's a sports commentator and author, also joining us. Nikhil, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on Mirror Now. That is, of course, Dr. Sunita was talking to us on that aspect. What is your first point of view? Because this is, of course, the conversation has started because the wrestlers did take to the streets, which is unfortunate to voice their opinions. But this concern was one of the reasons why this conversation is happening, and it is worrisome. If this is being stated, it's not just wrestling. They're talking about, other sports as well. So your first viewpoint before we get talking further about this.
Nivedhana, it's not surprising, if a federation like wrestling, which contributes to a lot of medals for India and all the Olympic sports, doesn't have an ICC, then all the other 15 national federations that have been mentioned by the National Human Rights Council are not surprising. I'm a little taken aback. I was not aware that the BCCI is one of those names that they've written to. I don't know exactly what shortcomings do they have, because few of the federations don't have an ICC altogether. A few of them don't have the requisite number of members, and few of them don't have the external members. So I'm not sure where the BCCI fits into the whole thing. But I'm not surprised, and about time that we bring in this important aspect of taking care of our athletes, with this addressal system. So my first view is very simple. It's the fact that it's not great that these athletes are sitting. They have to do what their job doesn't demand. They're doing it because they have a firm belief of where they want the sport to head.
Sorry for interjecting you, but I understand we have our
viewers
viewers also who would like to share their opinion with us. I understand I have Prashant from Delhi calling us. Prashant, good evening. Please go ahead and share with us your point of view.
So my point of view is that, whatever has happened has just exposed one thing, that it's extremely difficult for a common man to go through what these wrestlers have gone through and just to get an FIR registered. So, if such powerful Olympians in this country have to be on the street to get an FIR registered, just imagine what a common person has to go through. My request to you, to Mirror Now, would be to, bring the people in power accountable. If something like this is happening, it just reflects the health of our system. As women wrestlers were crying, people who we cheered for,
right,
they're crying. They're crying. What about the common girl? What about the common woman? And, we can talk about it the whole day, but we have to speak to the people who have been voted to power. It's those people who are presiding over the system and who have the power to change the system. Isn't it disgraceful for us as a country to actually see our wrestlers crying on the roads for such a long time? That's all that I have to say.
Right, Prashant. Thank you very much for sharing with us your point of view. Those are, of course, significant questions. We'll take that across to our guests as well. But I understand I have Anil Sood, another viewer of us, joining us on the broadcast over the phone lines. Anil, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your point of view, which I'm sure Dr. Sunita as well as Nikhil would like to shed some light into.
Good evening. See, we have all the systems, we have all the mechanisms in place, but those systems and mechanisms are only in favor of those who are moneyed, stacked, and they have full backing of the ruling dispensation. Unfortunate part that our system is for the benefit of 38,000 and around 900 people only, those who are bureaucrats, those who are sitting in North Block, or those who are moneyed people. For common citizens, there is no law, there is no respite. We, the common citizens of India, are guinea pigs. The government should change the mandate, preamble of the Constitution, that we will deny all the respect, dignity, freedom of speech to all our citizens. Look at the girls, those who have won laurels for the country. When they came, you wanted to have photographs with them. When they are crying, you don't want to talk. What nonsense! If anything of this kind happens to their daughters, entire media will gung-ho, entire system will be in place, and even police also will act overboard. These girls had to go to Supreme Court for lodging an FIR. What a shocking nation we have been reduced to. Are we Kaddu Republic? Banana is too small in size. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking and horrendous. And these politicians who are calling the shots must be held accountable and must be made answerable. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Sood. I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast and sharing your point of view. But I understand we have Sushil from Chennai calling us. Sushil, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is I'm a father of two daughters. And if a girl has made a statement that she was sexually molested or abused, the first thing to do is to arrest the person against whom the complaint was made. BJP is a party I vote for, but BJP is also a party which doesn't take any action against its own. It is high time that action is taken and our stars, our pride of India, are protected. Thank you.
Right, Sushil,
Hello.
Thank you very much. Let me take across all those points to our guests as well. Dr. Sunita, let me come across to you first with all these points. One of the larger aspects over here is that there seems to be no one to address these real concerns. There is no transparency as well.
You are right. Their oversight committee was like out of sight, and they did not come out with proper information and the implementation. Secondly, I have written a letter to Sports Ministry and Raj Thakur and asking him for ethics commission. If they have, why it is defunct, and if they don't have, why don't they make one which can work like NADA? Nobody can challenge. The girls can go. The athletes in distress can go there. And for professional misconduct, there is only one rule as per the Olympic Charter and sports law: banned from for life from sports. So first thing Ethics Commission can do, and they are doing it in Australia, in USA. They have very strong Ethics Commission. But in India, on paper they have come out with 7 names of retired judges, and in the arbitration court for sports, they have come out with 11 retired judges. So all this on paper, and now because commission, this NHRC has asked them, so they will give this only, that we have commission. But where the commission is sleeping, where these judges, I have my doubts that these judges were even informed, because same like Sakshi was in the sexual harassment committee on paper, but she was not even informed that she is in the committee. And you know, they are not taking any action. They are not bothering about these stalwarts, these stars, and we are getting this very bad name around the world, because Indian International Olympic Committee is watching, Olympic Committee is watching, everyone, because
Right.
through media we are going everywhere, and this is bringing very, very bad name to the sports, very bad for the future sports, and very bad for the government of the day. They have to take action as fast as possible. With Ethics Commission, they can just bar this man, who has done sexual harassment, whether it is proven or not. But in sports law, we have rule that no matter what, but first thing, you are out from sports, and then investigation will take place. So why can't they do all this?
Right,
But
Dr.
in
Sunita, I
India-
have to interject you there. I'm going to take that point across to Nikhil in a bit, but I understand we have more callers, viewers, in fact, joining us on the phone lines. Reena from Gujarat calling us. Reena, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point.
Yes, I'm saying that it is a very sad affair to see the young girls on street crying, our wrestlers whom we are proud of. And why isn't the government taking quick action on this matter? It is a government, we have a government which says that we decide very fast, we take action very fast. Then why aren't they doing something about them? Why are they making them sit on streets and crying and making them fold their hands in prayer for requesting the government to do something? So why isn't the government action taken quickly?
Right, Reena. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. We'll take those points across to our guests as well. But I understand Ivan is calling us from Mumbai. Ivan, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point as well.
Whenever there is an Olympic or any Asian game, when these wrestlers fight with the opponent, I keep on shouting at my top of my eye. Today, 16 days I'm crying, looking at these girls. If this government is not ready to listen to them, we are handicapped over here to answer to this call, to ask anybody who is going to respond to this girl. My love and everything is going towards them. I pray to the government to take this matter seriously and act it accordingly. I am Ivan D'Souza from Bombay.
Right. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. I understand Ramakrishna from Bengaluru is also with us. Ramakrishnan, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point of view.
What I wanted to say was, see, one thing is very clear from all these things that have happened so far. That is, the establishment is on one side and the players on the other side. It's very, very clear. There is no breach on either the players' side or on the establishment side. That is how united these people are. And all the laurels to the country are being brought by the players, not by the establishment. That is very, very clear. They're just holding on to the post. We have a person, in the head of the Wrestling Federation, simply holding on to the post. I don't know for what. What is he holding some elected post or something? I mean, he's entitled to, despite everything that has happened. Why doesn't he move out? Why doesn't he move out? These are the players who brought laurels to the country, not him. He is nothing, in my opinion. That is what I wanted to say. They are simply, bringing, these, placing all these players in such pathetic condition, have to plead before everybody when they brought laurels for the country. Hello?
Right, Ramakrishnan. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing with us your perspective. We'll talk about that as well. But I understand we have Inderjeet from Mumbai who has joined us on the broadcast over the phone lines. Inderjeet, good evening. Go ahead and please share with us your point of view on the story.
See, first of all, I want to applaud, that very frankly, Mirror Now was not my preferred channel, few months back. But now it has become one of my, preferred channels because you are doing a lot of stories, on how exposing a lot of things. My question here is that now all of us are seeing, what is happening. I'm feeling very ashamed, on myself as an Indian that this is happening and, we are not able to do anything. My humble request to you as a channel is that why don't we start, like we had a Me Too movement on Twitter. So can we start something and then all the Indians come and, if there are, 1 crore Indians calling this, then nobody can stop, the power of the common man, so as to say. So my humble request is that it's very shameful for all of us to watch this and not being able to participate. So can we start a movement on Twitter so that everybody can, with a hashtag, shame what we are seeing so that, there can be some movement.
Right, Inderjeet. We'll take that point across to our viewers, our guests as well. But I understand that we have Tarun from Hyderabad calling us. Tarun, good evening. Go ahead and please make your point of view.
Yeah, hi, good evening. I just want to say that before this incident, I had a really high image of the Modi government. But now, since this incident has happened, people are busy in elections, people are busy in their routine work. But why isn't the government taking action, some kind of action on this? I mean, how much patience does people have? I mean, और कितना patience रखें यार हम लोग? We need resolution. We need action. Please, I request the government to please take action on it, and please don't requesting opposition not to make it a political agenda out of it. It's a real problem that needs to be addressed, and please address it. Thank you.
Right, Tarun. Thank you very much for sharing with us your perspective. Let me take all these points across to Nikhil Sharma. Nikhil, there are two aspects of this. One, of course, we're discussing that this conversation opened like a Pandora's box because the wrestlers took to the streets. But the NHRC here has not just sent this notice to the Wrestling Federation. It's also about all these other sports bodies. Though we understand that Karishma, my colleague, did say that the BCCI does have an internal committee to be addressing this in the scheme of cricket. But this raises concerns as to how for so long has one got away with it. Imagine the amount of incidents that has never come to light because of this glaring lapse.
Well, sure. Nivedhana, one of the brighter things, if you may say so, is the fact that a lot of light will now be shed on these issues. The law mandates the setting up of an internal complaints committee within every national sports federations. Of course, the entire working of national sports federations on the whole is a big question mark as well, with so many of them their working, their operations being questioned, and also the national sports law implementation is also a question mark. Well, it's just I've been hearing everybody talk about the wrestlers being down on the streets protesting. Well, it's very very unfortunate that people who brought us Olympic medals have had to go to this extent to seek justice. But I'm hopeful that something good will come out. I think their demands are now, in terms of arrest, and that cannot be a straight up. I think, now that the FIR has been lodged, law will take its own course, and hopefully, their demands are met as far as what they want, the changes they want to bring about in the wrestling federation. Nivedhana?
Right, Nikhil. And Dr. Sunita, we'll continue this conversation, but I understand we have Arthur calling us from Bengaluru. Arthur, good evening. Please go ahead and share with us your point of view that Nikhil and Dr. Sunita would also like to know.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. Well, it's yeah, good evening to all of you. And yeah, I've been listening, and I'm rather sad to say it is like come to the state where I feel whether I've done a right decision in staying back in India, where I had a chance to migrate to Australia or to England. With these people and our political system as a whole.
Right, Arthur. Thank you very much for joining us. I understand we have Lincoln calling us from Bengaluru as well. Lincoln, please go ahead and share with us your point of view.
Yes, ma'am. As the gentleman said, the FIR has been booked. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Lincoln, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. As FIR has been booked and it will take its course of time. So what I mean is, this is not a less serious case. These youngsters, especially the girls sitting in front of us in the TV screen, anybody can tolerate if they have the heart. They are crying, they are starving. What a pathetic situation this happens in India. For all of the small issues, everybody come down to streets. They are humans. Do you think they are making some drama? What they are going to achieve? What they are going to get in crores or in packs of golds? See, this is, I am 65 years old. If I were to be a youngster, there are no youngsters, no bold people in India. Shame. It took so long. It's, I think, 5th, 6th day they are out on the streets, day and night. Please, these Supreme Court, they should move a suo motu and they should enter into this. and they should take this matter very seriously. I am upset. Very upset. Very upset.
Right, Mr. Lincoln. Thank you very much for sharing your point of view. We'll discuss that as well. But I understand we have Sampath KR calling us from Andhra Pradesh. Sampath, good evening. Please go ahead and share with us your point of view. Sampath, if you can hear me, please go ahead and share with us your point of view. All right, we'll try connecting with one of our viewers as well, who has, of course, called in to share with us his perspective. But let me take these points across to our guests who continue to stay with us. Dr. Sunita, these are visuals, of course, that everybody is speaking about. But one thing, you know, for someone like who's also been an athlete, this has a larger impact on their mental health as well, because they've been on the streets, they've been fighting. Of course, you know, when they were asked as to why they're doing it and if the other people could not come forward and complain, they said because they are the bigger faces ultimately. This is, of course, in the context of wrestling. But ultimately, it is the fact that they would like to address these issues, because they did state there were minors also involved in that particular allegation that they did put against the WFI chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. Irrespective of those allegations and how, you know, that will be read into in terms of the investigation, the aspect of their mental health getting sabotaged, because these are people who have represented our country and brought laurels for the nation. Those are angry voices that we just heard as well.
You know, not only mental. First, they came across the sexual harassment, and then the mental harassment, and now it is all emotional harassment. Just imagine the plight of these stalwarts, the sports stars, you know. And this is going to impact the younger generation, because younger generation will always think that if Olympians are not heard properly, what will happen to us? And you know what happens in sexual harassment committee? Maybe few people, those who are opposing, why they come now after 10 years, you know, कहते हैं ना पानी जब सर से उतर जाता है. These athletes, you know, those who are young, and they are up to national level or they are going for the international level, they are in the national camp. And that time, you know, they are so scared coming out, raising their voice against the system, against the federation, against the coach, against the manager. And that time, these manager coaches, not all, but few, like Brij Bhushan, they take advantage of this. And, you know, when these girls and the team, you know, wrestlers, those who have come out, they are raising voice for other sports persons. Or even now, others are scared to come out because they lose everything. You know, once they come out, raise their voice, there is a price to be paid when you are rebellion. And these athletes became rebellion because it was now too much beyond their, you know, toleration.
Right.
So when they can't tolerate wrong things happening in sports, and even now, if the sports ministry is listening, and the IOA has some brains, then they can open up ethics commission, which is fast track in sports, and they can just sort out this the problem, and they will get their justice. And now, whatever shaming and all these things happening around the world for Indian sports will stop. So they have to have commissions, active commissions.
Right,
not
Dr. Sunita, as you
paper.
make those significant points, I'm going to come back to you and Nikhil, but I understand Sampath Kumar has joined us from Andhra. Sampath, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point of view.
Yes, madam. Since we have been a long time that we are struggling for the right, those girls that bring medals to our country. Yes, madam, they are being fighting
right,
for
Sampath,
a long time.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
They brought so many medals to our country. It's a shame to tell about the situation. Our government has so many laws and acts about the girls. OSHA Act is there. Then why don't they have a justice for their fight? Why don't we put some laws over the top leaders? Brij Bhushan, we know about the history about the Brij Bhushan in Uttar Pradesh. He had so many cases, so many criminal cases over him. Then why don't we take action of top leaders? Please. I'm very sorry about the situation over the Jantar Mantar. Please do justice to those guys. They don't want to fail. They don't want to become.
Right, Sampath, thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now and sharing with us your perspective. But I understand we have Advocate Rajendra calling us from Mumbai. Rajendra, if you can hear me, good evening. Please go ahead and make your point of view as well. Then I'll take that across to Nikhil as well.
A small introduction from my side. I am an advocate by profession. I am 70-year-old fellow. My father was a wrestler. I am an ex-footballer, vagara, vagara. Anyway, I don't want to waste time on the introduction and all. I want to know that I have been following these wrestlers, this thing from Jantar Mantar. I feel very, 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 very bad about the things they are going through. It is very unfortunate that I am watching such a things. Moreover, please listen to me. The person named the Prime Minister Modi. Do you mean to say that he doesn't know anything about it? He does know it. He does know it. Not a single fly can fly from here without his permission in India. What the hell he's doing? Prime Minister Modi, what he's doing, he doesn't fit to be sit there. I'm sorry, but I have to express these things because Vinesh Phogat had told him specifically that something is going wrong. It was his duty to take action on that. Why the hell he is not doing it? He's busy with the elections. He doesn't know what is going on here. He's more worried about getting into this thing, politics and this thing. What nonsense is this? He should be thrown out immediately. I'm sorry, but I have to say this.
Right, Advocate Rajendra, I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast and sharing with us your perspective. But I understand we have more viewers who are calling us. K. Prasad from Chennai. Prasad, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your perspective as well.
Out. Happening is a shame on our
Prasad, good evening, if you can hear me.
Part, actually. Yeah, I can hear you. So should I go ahead with my whatever?
Yes, please go ahead and make your point.
These wrestlers who are there in Jantar Mantar and they want the government to take action against the corrupt official. But nothing has emerged either from the Prime Minister's office or from the
Right, Prasad. I think we managed to get a bit of your perspective on that, but let me take those points across to our guests as well who continue to stay with us. Nikhil, I would like to ask you one thing. In terms of the world of sports, we can't deny, of course, things have changed over the years. It is a male-dominated profession at the end of the day. How does one really address these concerns then?
Well, Nivedhana, it shouldn't be too tough. There are rules laid out very, in black and white for almost all national federations. It's a fairly simple process. Establish, an internal complaint committee, that should be adequately represented by, by women, by external members, by internal members. So it's not too tough to put it into place. I think we must also now understand what the wrestlers are demanding. Because the demand has also changed from the time that they started off. They are now demanding arrest for Mr. Brij Bhushan. The good part is that there is an FIR that's been filed. There are two, in fact, that's been filed on the directives of the Supreme Court. So in that case, the law will have to take its own course at this point in time. Let's wait and watch as to what happens next. But as far as the world of sports is concerned, and to pertinent to your question, it shouldn't be too tough. There has to be more representation from women. As far as India is concerned, most of our medalists, the percentile of Indian women versus the rest of the world is much closer. We have more champions amongst women than the men. So it should not be too tough for India to understand that a large part of our strength rests with Indian women, and they have to be given a larger representation, both in managing as well as participating. So it shouldn't be too tough. anybody, who's managing these federations should have a clear-cut idea. And of course, now the IOA is also headed by a woman, one of the best athletes that India has ever produced. So not a tough one, that one. But it's just that this one has opened up a Pandora's box of sorts. Nivedhana?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Nikhil. In fact, Dr. Sunita, just to get your perspective about all those viewers who had, different perspective as well. But one thing that was unanimous is that they're disappointed, in terms of how our athletes who represent our country are brought down to just get justice, because they're talking about the fact that these are big faces. But what will someone who hasn't got such a laurel and still have to go through an ordeal like this do in such a situation?
The thing is, reporting mechanism is not there. There should be some kind of reporting mechanism in sports where any athlete in distress, like 100 number in police, 181, same way in sports, there has to be one number where the athletes can report, and then the action is taken immediately. Like when you call 100, immediately they come and rescue you. So same way in sports also, we need all these things. We need Ethics Commission, we need ICC, we need NHRC has done wonderful job, but 4 weeks is too much. Why can't they ask it within a week? Because if they have the committees, all the federations have committees, Sports Ministry has, SAI has, then they should come out within a week for the answer, so that these stalwarts, these sports stars don't have to linger on this and, in distress. They are now emotionally also harassed very badly. So action has to be taken like fast track.
Absolutely. Right, Dr. Sunita and Nikhil, we'll get that conversation going, but I understand we have more callers who would like to, share with us their perspective. Bharat calling us from Jamshedpur. Bharat, good evening. If you can hear me, please go ahead and make your point. All right, we'll try connecting with Bharat, but I understand now Prakash calling us from Hyderabad. Prakash, good evening. Please go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Good evening, Nivedhana. I was just seeing the wrestlers' plight, and I have a concern about them because, they are sitting, they bought medals for us, and this is their plight, sitting at Jantar Mantar and requesting the ruling dispensation and the sports ministry and asking the PM to intervene and do something about it. But I think the government has done nothing about it till date. I do not know whether they are waiting for the Karnataka elections results to come out. But this is not the way our heroes should be handled. Thank you.
Right, Prakash. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. I understand I have more callers who would like to share their perspective. Good evening. Please go ahead and tell us your point of view.
Mine?
Basudeep?
Right. Yes.
Yes, Basudeep.
It's a
Good
shame.
evening. Go ahead.
It is a shame that, these people who have won medals for us in the Olympics and in other sports arena, they are being made to rake up a star there in Jantar Mantar just to get justice. It is unbelievable, and it shouldn't be done. And the Sports Ministry and also the Prime Minister's office and the Home Minister should be answerable for all this. Why should they continue to ask for justice? It's very despicable on the part of the ruling ministry.
Right, Basudeep. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing with us your point of view. Also, on that note, I want to thank Dr. Sunita as well as Nikhil Sharma for taking their time out and speaking to us also on Mirror Now. We appreciate your time and also, of course, addressing all those point of views that our viewers also had. But for the moment, we leave it at that. Thank you very much once again. And on that note, we're slipping into a short break on Daily Mirror, but lots more to continue on the other side. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.